Good afternoon and welcome, everyone. My name's Russell Gerber. It's great to all have you on the Ranger Show this afternoon. Big welcome to all of you around the world. As always, feel free to give us a shout out in the question box below. Just give us your name and, of course, tell us where you're from. And if you have any questions, any comments, please feel free to send those through for the next half an hour or so. As always, today we'll be going through the live cameras, seeing what we've got out and about our various locations across South Africa. But of course, we'll be continuing on that wonderful story, the madness that unfolded over the weekend at Rosie's Pan and Naledi. Truly remarkable few days that we've had on the cameras, and I know many of you have been enjoying all the incredible sights that we've had over the last few days. Not just, of course, the madness with the lions, but we've had some incredible leopard viewing. At all of our cameras, really. Yesterday afternoon, we had a couple of leopards at a few different locations across the cameras. So always such a special thing to see. But it's a great time to be in the bush. We're always so fortunate to have these incredible live views from the bush. So without further ado, let's dive into some of our highlights from that incredible lion sighting. We're, of course, live at the moment. That was at Olifants River, but we wanted to kick off showing you these beautiful little lion cubs. This, of course, was taken from the Nomad cam at that lion kill. As you can see, the rest of the pride all around there, but these beautiful little cubs being introduced to the pride for the first time. We had a chat to the rangers and the team on the ground, and they tell us this is the first time they've seen these little cubs. First time they've been introduced to the rest of the pride, which is not unusual. Often the mom will keep those cubs hidden away for normally about 2 months. Sorry. That's certainly how old these little cubs look, around about 8 weeks, I would wager. You can see them here having a little taste of probably the first time they've ever really tasted meat. This part not too tasty. It's very much gristle and leftovers that the rest of the pride has left behind. But just amazing to see them, and amazing that this is the first time that they've been introduced into what can be quite a tense environment. The lions are not renowned for sharing their food with one another in a peaceful manner, so sometimes the lubs can get, or these little cubs can get caught in the crossfire, but thankfully all looks pretty peaceful here, and you can see them lounging over mommy. And this was a little later, where they've gone back to what they know best, and that's, of course, nursing from mom. And we're back live now. So as I mentioned, they were, of course, giving the meat a try. They are not weaned at all at this stage. It will be a few more months until that happens, normally around 9 months or so. They'll no longer be taking milk from mom. Just unbelievable viewing, and such luck to be able to see those cubs for the first time with the rest of the reserve on camera. So special. That was while there was still quite a lot left of that buffalo. And while we're on the same story, we'll go back to our second highlight. This is simply of the pride and the aftermath. Feeding, it's about 24 hours of feeding non-stop. I know many of you commented that couldn't believe how much of the kill the pride had actually eaten. And it was really interesting that they did eat most of it, but this is a very large pride. We think there's only around 10 at the moment at this location. It's, of course, one of the most easily recognizable. A young male, dubbed by the local team as Vincent, because he's missing an ear on the right-hand side there. It was a little accident when he was young. As you can see now, this is the rest of the pride. All different age groups here. Some sub-adult cubs, the adults. Information that we have from the reserve and rangers tell us that the pride itself, known as the Takazile pride, which we chatted a little bit about on Tuesday, actually 24 members in that pride. And now with the 3 new cubs, 27, which is a really, really big pride of lions. Here you can see the cubs again. You hear these wonderful little sounds in the background. Those are the cubs calling to mom. They're probably begging for a little bit of nursing time. And you can hear mom giving a little contact call back to them as she moves away, just reminding them to stay close by and not wander off too far. But now that she's introduced those cubs to the pride, it's unlikely that she will move off on her own again. She will pretty much be with them, and they will be with the pride permanently now. And as the days and weeks go by, the rest of the pride will get more and more comfortable with them. But again, just amazing viewing. We were able to pretty much watch this entire action with the lions unfold from start to finish. Here we are back live again with our little guinea fowl. It's not far away. This is Rosie's pan. And then just a couple of questions that we got so far as well. Hello to everybody out there. Nari from South Australia, welcome. Stephanie, always a pleasure to have you with us. Pat, welcome back. And then the question is, how many prides of lions are there in the Bululi Nature Reserve? Remember, Bululi is part of the Greater Kruger area. And as far as I'm aware, there is no fence between Bululi and the rest of the reserve. And again, as far as I know, it's only the one pride in the Bululi region. Remember, a pride of that size, around, what we said, 27 individuals, would have a pretty large territory, and because of the size, very dominant. One of the questions we've had too now was, where were the males? And they didn't seem to really arrive at the kill, and crossed over to the nomad cam now, and that's all that's left. of that big old buffalo. So interestingly, the males themselves, there's three big males that are the dominant males for this pride. They're known as the Macton males, I believe, and we don't often see them. They cover large territory, which is pretty common for dominant male lions, but we were told that when this pride was on this kill that they did hear the three males calling off in the distance, but we haven't spotted them on the cameras since then. But you never know when they may come around again. I would wager that the size of this pride, the three big dominant males, it's likely they've got a fairly large territory. Lion territories can be anywhere from 50 square kilometers up to around 100 in certain parts of the Kruger. So it's very possible they're the only pride in the Baluli area at the moment. Of course, this is all fluid. It changes from year to year depending on the various lion dynamics, in particular if there are new males in an area, new dominant males that will attempt a takeover. For the time being, things are fairly stable, and when you do have a stable environment and the males stay dominant, it's not uncommon to see these large prides forming. If there is a disturbance and a change in the power hierarchy, very often the prides will break up into separate prides and can be a very difficult time for the lions. So I know for a lot of our game management teams out there, they're quite happy when there's three big dominant males rather than one older male. It tends to keep things stable for a few more years. Therefore, some really great lion sightings that I'm sure they get all over Baluli and that we have had on the cameras in the last few weeks, even the last few years. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question. Thank you, Sharon, from the Netherlands. And then let's cut over to our next little highlight. It'll lead into one of our questions that we got from you folks. That is, do the hyenas chew up the bones for the marrow? There's still lots of bones that appear untouched. You can see here much left, and this is highlights from last night, basically. You can see this is a young hyena. There have been a few around, all sorts of different members from what I suspect is the local clan. At this point, everything has really been torn away. There's really not much left. And when it comes to your question, Pat, about do they chew up the bones? They absolutely can. You know, hyenas have a really powerful bite force, significantly stronger than a lion. So it can quite easily get into rib cartilage, the marrow in the rib bones itself, other bones of the carcass. Bite force of around 1,100 psi, which is really, really powerful. It's actually more powerful than a tiger. So this is an animal much smaller in size to a tiger, but an extremely powerful bite force. That does give them a little advantage in being able to extract maximum nutrients out of the kill. And it's really what we're witnessing here and what we've seen over the last few days is, of course, the kill itself benefits the pride, all the various members from adults through to cubs, 3 different generations. And then, of course, all the way to the scavengers, hyenas in particular. And of course, a little later on, we saw the arrival of huge numbers of vultures. And all of these animals, of course, benefit from the kill. So it can be difficult to watch at times. And I, like many of you, feel very sorry for the buffalo. As you can see, it benefits so many animals, and this time of year, things are pretty tough for them, particularly the herbivores. You look around here at Naledi, grazing is really limited. So a lot of your bigger herbivores start to lose condition, as we've touched on in the past. So though it's difficult to watch and difficult for a lot of those bigger herbivores, it is often a time of plenty for your big predators like the lions, and scavengers often do well this time of year as well. So it's the good old cliche of the circle of life, but to watch it unfolding in front of us has been pretty special. And let's go to our next little highlight. This one bringing in those crazy but incredibly patient vultures. In the area, over the last few days, we saw a few different species. The ones that I noted were hooded vultures. You can see the slightly smaller head. And the bigger ones with the larger bill, bigger wingspan. The white-backed vultures. I wasn't able to see any, but sometimes you'll get the biggest vulture in the area, which is lappet-faced vultures, and also occasionally cape vultures that would arrive at the scene. But in this instance, it looks like just the white-backed and hooded vultures. There's also the arrival of tawny eagle. The tawny eagle is also renowned as a scavenger at times. They can hunt, but often spotted around kills, particularly if there are large numbers of vultures around. Yeah, you see a little bit of an altercation between this hyena and the vultures. Hyena's saying, "I'm not quite done. You guys just hold on 1 minute." But as you can see, just the sheer numbers and the fact that there's really not much left there. The hyenas have decided to give up on this buffalo carcass. Not without a couple more attempts, but as we saw later on, after this young hyena moved this kill across here out into the open, it was pretty much abandoned by the bigger mammals. I love this little clip where you can just see how powerful the jaws are of these hyena. He's got a rib that he's going to take away. Still not quite willing to give up this kill just yet. I say, what a treat it's been to be able to watch this. Not every day we get such incredible action on the cameras, but again, just a reminder of, everything is live. And one of the things that makes us love the bush so much is that anything can happen at any time. Since that kill, we've certainly had an absolute feast for the eyes as well as for the lions. Back live now at Williefunts. Let's see if anybody else is around. It seemed pretty quiet on the live cameras this afternoon. But you never know. We're always keeping our eye on all the various locations. So if anything comes down, we'll pop over there. Stephanie asks, why do you think the elephant was inspecting the buffalo bones last night? Stephanie, it's not unusual, particularly if there's lots of different scents in the area, like hyena and lion, and of course just the remnants of the kill. Elephants are naturally inquisitive. Sometimes you'll see them react in a more anxious way when they do get those smells in the air, but not unusual for them to come and check out a carcass like that, but very unusual to see them actually investigating it further than that. So yeah, just curious, I would say, is pretty much what that could be put down to. And then question from Maxine in Australia. Welcome, Maxine. Love your show. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Question about the safety of the cubs from the male lions. Not from their own pride or in the area. Yeah, so the dominant males themselves, these will be the cubs from those males. Likely one of the males, the female will mate with one of them more often, and during the right time of estrus, they can even go into a false estrus to trick the other two less dominant males into thinking the cubs are theirs. So that is one way that they avoid any potential injury to these new cubs. But what I meant by the potential injury to those young cubs at a kill is just simply that the rest of the pride can be quite aggressive. They wouldn't outright attack the cubs, but they could get caught in a snarl or a quick slash of a paw between lionesses. So more often than not, you'll see, like we saw in that clip, the cubs tend to hang back away from the craziness. So yeah, they need to be careful in those environments, but as they get older, they'll need to also learn that if they want to get a piece of the kill, they're going to have to be more and more brave. But for now, they're very happy on mom's milk. Watching this little crocodile who's been hanging out at Williefunts on this bank for a while now. Talking about bite force, this is the strongest bite force we have here in Africa. Hyena is around 1,000 psi. Crocodile is around 5,000, so 5 times stronger bite. Formidable predator here in Africa. And then we got one more clip from you, just again to give you an idea of all the various animals that can benefit from a kill. And this was a little African civet. Investigating. They are omnivorous. Anything from berries to invertebrates, and even a little bit of carrion if they can find it. As you can see here, this civet we see quite often. They are quite territorial, sniffing the air and certainly feeling a little anxious, trying to figure out who's still around there. Considering this kill was abandoned not too long ago, there will be very strong sense of lion, hyena in the air. This little civet is inquisitive about the potential of a little free meal. In this particular instance, he decided that he won't brave the carcass just yet. Another lovely view from the nomad camp. And so you'll also be looking around. You saw that hyena take a few pieces away from the kill. So always the potential for finding a little remnant left on the outskirts. But after that, he wandered off, and that was basically all the time he spent around that kill. So again, you know, a lot of animals benefit from something like this. All of those lions will have good full tummies now for the next few days. Our mom and her young cubs, she will be able to produce good milk for them in the coming week or so. So this buffalo sacrifice goes towards the survival of a number of different species. So farewell, Mr. Buffalo. Thank you for thank you for your service. But as always, folks, what a pleasure to enjoy this with you, and thank you for your questions and input today. We'll keep the Nomad Cam around here for the next few days, see if there's any more action there, and then we'll be using it more often for any potential exciting new sightings in and around the Baluli area. Excuse me. As you can see now, everything looking peaceful. And a brief respite from the craziness that has been the last few days. But as always, keep your eyes on those cameras. We've been getting this great viewing. Many of the predators, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show. Loads of leopard around at Willie Funt's camp. Had him at Rosie's yesterday. I thought we were going to get lucky with a little potential leopard kill. But there was a little daycare that came onto the scene while the leopard was there, but I think we've used up our luck for at least for this week, but you never know. And then one more question before we head out from Pat. Do the lions only hunt when they are hungry, or are they opportunistic? Pat, they are very much opportunistic, but again, it depends on how full they are, if they're even capable of hunting when they're so gorged on meat. But I have actually witnessed lions make 3 kills all at the same water hole in a very dry year. But they were so full that basically 2 of those kills were almost completely untouched. So they can be opportunistic. Certainly when they are hungry, but for the most part, if they are very full, they'll often let any potential prey walk on by. It's not worth the expenditure of energy. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed those highlights and that wonderful story that I said has unfolded over the last few days. We'll be keeping an eye on this pride and the hyenas and all the action in the region, of course, in the next few weeks. I'm sure we'll be getting some great sightings throughout the rest of the winter. Most of the country enjoying a very cold snap. Pretty chilly in the mornings and evenings across the inland of South Africa. So stay warm out there for those of you who are out in the bush. Speaking of which, I will be heading back to the field next week. Be out and about in the Okavango Delta and Linyanti, and then back to the Kruger Park on safari with some guests, which is very exciting. It's been a long time for me, so very excited to get back out there. So I will say goodbye to you all for a couple of weeks. The venerable Phil Stepney will be back with you all next week for the Ranger shows. And he will have some wonderful insights into all things Africam over the next few weeks while I'm back out in the field. So thank you all for joining us. It's been my pleasure as always. Have a wonderful weekend out there. Enjoy the cameras. And I'll see you all in a few weeks.